We're going to talk about matrices a little bit, which is just the plural word for matrix. And a matrix is a block of numbers. Okay, so we're going to talk about adding, subtracting them, and multiplying them, and also how we use them to slide an object. Okay, so you can use a vector or you can use a matrix when you're moving an object. Yesterday we talked about sliding with a vector, and I'll show you how to do that in matrix form. So when you're adding and subtracting matrices, it's quite simple. You just add and subtract whatever numbers are in the same position. So the upper left corner number goes with the upper left corner number on the other one. So, for instance, this 4 and this -2, you're going to subtract. So 4 minus -2, we're going to get what? 6 would go in that corner. Okay, so you're going to find all of the individual answers when you subtract the numbers in that location to get your answer. So the number right next to it, -4 minus 0, is -4. 0 minus 0 is 0. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys fill in the rest of it. Let's see if we get all the same numbers. See if you can do your subtraction quickly in your head without any mistakes. Did I make any mistakes? Good? Pretty easy, right? All right. Using matrices to translate or to slide an object. Here's how we do this. First of all, we have to learn how to take a shape and turn it into a matrix. So here's what we do. We always label on the top the vertices, and on this picture we have A, B, and C, and then we put the X and the Y coordinate underneath each one. So for A, the coordinate is 4, 2, so we put 4 here, 2 here. B is 2, -3, and C is -5, 5. So that's your first step. I'm going to have you do that on the test as well. Okay, what we're going to do is move it along vector 6, -1. So let's recopy this. This is what you're going to have for your equation, ABC. I'm just going to recopy the 6 numbers. This is going to be your vector, and then we'll get where our answer is, which means it's going to be A prime, B prime, C prime. We're not actually going to graph this. This just tells us where our new coordinates will be. So if we're going to move this along 6, -1, what's going to happen to all of the X values? What direction are we moving? Everything's going to go right 6, right? So all of these X values in the top row are going to increase by 6. What's going to happen to the Y values? They're all going to get subtracted by 1. So whatever your vector is, you're just going to be repeating that however many times you need to, depending on how many vertices you have on your shape. Okay, so now it's just like what we talked about on the previous slide when you add matrices. Just make sure the ones in the same spot get added. So the new coordinate for A prime is going to be 2 or 10, 1. B prime, when you add these together, it looks like we get 8, -4. Here we get 1, 4. Questions on that? So I'm going to be looking for that equation on the homework and also on the test. Something similar to that. Questions? Make sure you have these headings. If you want to circle them, highlight them in some way to remind yourself that that's part of your answer, so you don't forget those. Can't get full credit if you forget those. All right, let's talk about multiplying with matrices. There's two different ways to look at it. One is called scalar multiplication, which just means you have a single number on the outside. What do you think is going to happen here? Yeah, it's just like distributing, okay? Everything's going to get multiplied by -2. We're going to use this later on in the chapter, the scalar multiplication idea. Did I do my math right? Double check my quick mental math. Okay, so that's the easy way for multiplication if you just have a single number. The multiplying when you have a matrix times another matrix gets a little bit trickier. Okay, but I'll show you the process, and it's the same process every time. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do whenever we're multiplying matrices is we're going to organize them in this way. Okay. So originally, the book is going to write it like this. Okay, when you write it in your notebook, you're going to organize it like this, where the second matrix, you're going to move up a little bit. Okay, what you're going to get is your answer goes in this corner, and I'll tell you how to get it. Okay, so you're going to get a matrix right there for your answer. Okay, so like it says up here, how we get each of these numbers in the answer matrix is by multiplying. Notice they've color-coded them. They took 1 times 7 right here. Then they took 2 times 9 and 3 times 11. What did they do with all of those answers? You add them together to get a single number. So we're going to do that same thing here. We're going to be taking these rows multiplied by these columns. So sometimes it helps to circle those, and it will always be the rows on this one and the columns on the one up above, always. So let's talk about this. What are we going to multiply together to get this upper left number? We're going to multiply 2 times 2 and 0 times -3, and then we're going to add those together. What would we get? 4, right? Because we got 4 plus 0, so this answer is 4. Okay, what about the one next to it? To get this one, aren't we multiplying these? Okay, so we got 2 times 1 and 0 times 0. What's that going to be when we add them? 2. Okay. Now let's look at, I'm going to use a different color. Now we're looking at this row. Okay, we're going to multiply it with each of those columns. So what two numbers are we going to multiply first? -3 times 2 and 1 times -3. So let's think about that in our head. Our first number is -6 plus -3. What's that? -9. If you need to do scratch work on the side because it's hard to remember all those numbers, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, to get this next number, we're still multiplying this row right here, but now we're looking at the second column. So -3 times 1 and 1 times 0. -3. Good. Okay, this bottom row. We're going to take 4 times 2 and 5 times -3. So our first number is what? 8 plus -15 is -7. Okay, we're going to take this bottom row times the second column. So 4 times 1 and 5 times 0. That's just 4. Questions on that? We're going to try a couple more. They should get a little bit faster as we practice them. Does anyone still need this slide? Okay, let's try these two. So we have to rewrite this so that we've got the first one And then the other one we're going to move up. So that we get our answer in the corner here. Remember, we're always going to circle the rows on this one, the columns on this one. Okay, first number times first number, second number times second number, and then we add them. So looking at this upper left number right here, what two numbers do we add together? What are the two numbers we would add together? So we're going to add this number plus this number. The first number is -1 times -3. What's that? +3 plus 0 is the other one. So we got 3 right there. What about the one to the right of that? What two numbers are we adding together? -3 and 0. Everyone seeing where we're getting that? That's -3 when you add them. Looking at the bottom row, what are the two numbers you add together? Yep. -9 and -20. See where we're getting those? When we add those together, we got -29. What two numbers for the last spot? Nine and 0. Okay, that would give us 9 right here. So that's your answer. Questions? Need to hear some feedback if you're lost a little bit. Let's rewrite this one. So we've got 3, 6, -8. Okay, and then we move this one up. So we got So it seems a little bit strange to kids that when you multiply what looks like large matrices right here, we're going to get such a tiny answer. It's only going to be 2 numbers. Okay, but that's how it works out. So remember, we circle rows on the first one, columns on the one that's up above. So we're going to be adding together 3 numbers on this one, aren't we? Okay, because we multiply the first number times the first number, second times the second, and third times the third. Okay, so let's jot down a little bit of work. What are we going to add together? What 3 numbers? First number is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. -12 and -8, which is -20. Okay. To get this number, what 3 things do we add together? Okay, so 6 came from 3 times 2. Next one is 6 times 5. So we got 30. -8 times -6 is 48. What is this when we add them up? Questions? Okay, so that's multiplying matrices. One last idea with multiplying matrices is knowing what sizes you can actually combine. Okay, so let's say we had these two. Here's what you have to look for. This is a 3 by 2 matrix, which means there's 3 rows and 2 columns. That's always the order they put the dimensions in. As long as these 2 numbers right here match up and they're the same, then you can multiply them. It will work. Okay? The numbers on the outside actually give you the size of your answer. Okay, so that will always happen as well. So what are the new dimensions of the answer going to be? 3 by 4 from here and here. There's going to be 3 rows and 4 columns on the answer if we were going to multiply this one. We can't because there's not numbers. But that just tells you what size your answer will be. Questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. Other questions?
So as long as the column is this one and the row is the second one.
Yep. So if the columns here and the rows on the second one match, then you can multiply them.